and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys. After what was a big win over Getafe, a comfortable, convincing win from Barça, that in itself is something to celebrate this weekend. And what we're going to be doing today is looking at some of the star performers from that game. We're also going to have news there on Frenkie de Jong and his future, big meetings taking place at the club, and also when it comes to Xavi, there have been a few rumours going around here and there, and also debate now amongst Barça fans. Could he stay beyond the end of the season? Should that even be something that is in our mind? We're going to be discussing it all right here today. So come on, and let's do this. Because if we do, first of all, though, begin with Pau Cubarsi, because I have to talk about this young man. With the way that he handled himself in yesterday's game, it was absolutely extraordinary there. Against Getafe, first of all, he won every single one of his duels, his individual battles out there, which against Getafe, by the way, is no easy task. He really did handle himself so well against a really physical team that they are. And you have to talk about his playing at the back. You have to talk there about his ability on the ball, because he showed us some absolutely tremendous examples of what he can do. For instance, there, he was one of the players that actually started the move for João Felix's goal there with a really nice pass out of the back. And that is what can come, guys, from being brave, being accurate there in your distribution with the ball. And that's what we need here, by the way. That is what is so important here at Barca. When we're talking about Barca DNA, playing out of the back doesn't just mean playing it from side to side there with no purpose, with no urgency, playing it around the back for fun. Barca DNA is actually having the bravery to take a step forward, to take a risk when required there, to back yourself, to pick out a teammate ahead of you, and to start a move, get things going from the back. Because just in the same way that our attack should be the first line of defence at Barca, don't forget as well that defence can be our first line of attack. And Pau Cubarsi, he is a perfect example of that. And just 17 years old, and only just turned 17 as well. And it was no surprise then that after the game, Xavi was full of praise for Pau. He said he is the best ball-playing defender that we have at this club. And he said that with such certainty as well. Think of the confidence that will give young Pau Cubarsi. He said it is spectacular to watch him play, and he is just 17 years old. And Xavi went on to say there, he surprises you every day, because in your own head you have already thought of the correct pass that he should make, but he said then he goes on and he makes an even better one. He said, I am absolutely sure that he is good enough to go on and make history at the club. So like I say, Pau, listening to those words there from a club legend like Xavi, that should give him enormous confidence there and real faith in his future at the club. And with so much talk about Barca's finances there, about what other clubs are able to do in terms of bringing players in, and what Barca are going to be able to do, you know, will we get left behind? What I would just like to stress here, time and time again, La Masia saves us. La Masia comes to the fore, and they keep producing gems in this first team. It's another one here that we look to have got our hands on. We have to keep trusting in it. We have to keep using it, because La Masia keeps producing. Which brings us on there to talk about another player who was certainly in the thick of things in the game against Getafe yesterday, had a really positive impact on the game. It was Raphinha. And what I thought was really interesting is that he really genuinely did want to play in this fixture. He said, I really wanted to play this match because I got sent off against Getafe in the first game of the season. Remember, that red card there was incredibly unjust with how physical Getafe were to us in that game, and yet we were the ones that got a red card. And you could see the hunger from Raphinha. You could see there that he was really playing yesterday with some fire within him to put things right, and that's exactly what you want to see. And it's very possible that in training, in the build-up to this game, that Xavi actually noticed, you know, Raphinha's really up for this one. He wants to be involved, and that is why maybe he opted to start with him in this game and give Yamal some really important rest. And it was a win-win. It really was. Raphinha came in, took his chance well, and really did show Getafe in the end. But I also think it was really interesting, guys, that speaking of Yamal, speaking of that competition that he's now really having with Raphinha, what Raphinha responded to that, because he said, it doesn't bother me to be competing with Lamine Yamal. He said, actually, it's an honour to be competing with him. He will become one of the best players in the world, and he said, for that reason, we will make each other better, because in a team like Barca, competition must always be present. And those there, I have to say, were first of all glowing words for somebody like Yamal, who is of course just 16 years old, and somebody talking about you there who's so experienced in the game, nearly 10 years older, and yet he's saying it's an honour to be be competing with you. So that, again, will make Yamal feel very, very good. And there's some really healthy competition going on there on the right side between Raphinha and between Lamine Yamal, which is absolutely great to see. And we have to talk about Frenkie de Jong yet again here, guys, on the channel. We've got to talk about Frenkie. And once again, first of all, what he said in the media straight after the game against Getafe yesterday, because the interviewer went to de Jong after his goal and said, "You had a great game. You were so impressive today." He said you didn't give one bad pass. It was a really great performance, wasn't it? What did you make of it? And the funny thing about it is, Frenkie de Jong turned round. He said, "Was it?" He said, "In my opinion, I don't think so." He said, "I think today, with the ball, was one of my worst games of the season." He said, "It's true that I scored a goal, but," he said, "this happens too much in football. Just because you score, people then think, oh, you played good." But he said, "I don't look at football that way. And in general today, I think that I haven't been good." And I absolutely love the Dutch mentality. They literally tell you what is on their mind. They don't hide anything. They come straight up and give you pure honesty. And that was Frenkie saying, "Yeah, well, I might have scored, but I don't think I was good." And that's also good to see him demanding the absolute best of himself, of course. That is something he does a lot, which is great. But on Friday, it was interesting to see there that Frenkie's agent, Ali Derzan, actually met with Barcelona. And that was a confirmed meeting, by the way. We got pictures of that and everything. It definitely happened. Frenkie's agent there met with Deco, and I think that meeting there was basically designed to just calm things down inside of the club. Between Frenkie, between, of course, the media, that big press conference that he had before the Champions League game, I think that really did demand a bit of action from the club. And apparently they went to Frenkie's agent there just to assure him, "We do support you. We do support you, Frenkie, and we do count on you for the future." And apparently in that meeting, really good feeling between the two sides there. They're coming together and talking. Very, very good feelings there. Apparently Frenkie's agent told the club he also wants to be here. He is very committed to Barca. He wants to win all the titles, the Champions League and everything, and he is confident that Barca will have a winning project. So Frenkie wants to stay. That has become very, very clear now. And in that meeting, there was no mention at this stage of Frenkie de Jong's contract. There was no mention of the wages, of course, that we have heard so much about in the media. Apparently Barca's plan, as talks continue there will be more talks there with Frenkie's agent. Their plan is to just gradually start to talk about that contract and maybe a new one there at the club for the long term. But there's no immediate hurry on that. That's why it wasn't discussed in this meeting. That's why it won't be pushed right now. It is a slow process and the two parties are talking. But in general, the atmosphere and the feelings right now, they are actually very, very good, which can only be a good thing for Barca, which is when we do have to talk now about Xavi Hernandez. We have to talk here about the man who is the current coach of Barca. We know that Xavi has made his decision to leave, but obviously, whenever Barca win, whenever there's a sign there of things maybe improving, maybe getting a bit better, you will undoubtedly hear Barca fans saying, should Xavi leave? Is there any possibility that maybe he could stay? Maybe that he should stay? That has been said by some Barca fans. And let me just give you a few quotes here from Xavi when he was asked the same question. First of all, after the Getafe game, he said, "I do not regret my decision to leave at the end of the season." He said, "I don't regret that at all. I am convinced that it's the right decision, not only for me, but also for the club. But I do want to thank the fans. They are always on my side." So Xavi continues to say, "I don't regret saying I'm leaving. I stand by my decision. It's one that I've made." Because also then, after the game against Napoli, he was again asked, hypothetically, if Barca were to do well in the Champions League, maybe do well in the league, would things change for you? He said, "My decision on my future will not change." He said, "I am convinced that the club needs a change. It needs to happen this summer." And he said, "We still have a few months until June, but I think my decision was necessary. It's the best thing for me, and it's especially the best thing for the club." So Xavi, when you listen to him, he doesn't seem to have any doubts. There may be calls there from the media. Will he change his mind? There may be calls from Barca fans. Could he stay? But I think when you listen to Xavi, you see there that he has it clear in his mind. You can't forget here, he wasn't sacked at Barca. Barca here, the board didn't say, "Look, we want you to go." They wanted to keep him here. Xavi was the one that said, "Look, I feel as though now is the right time." He made that decision, and it seems as though no matter what, he is going to stick with that, and he is going to see that through until the very end. But I am just interested to know here, guys. Obviously, Barca have been on a little unbeaten run. It hasn't been anything absolutely crazy. It was a good result yesterday, a really good good convincing win. That's been the first one in a while. But has anything changed in your mind here? Are you having any doubts about the future? About Xavi leaving? Are you thinking maybe that he could stay? Or should he have made that decision so soon? Or are you still very much on the side of, yes, Barca need change. We need to do something different this summer. We need a different direction. So I want to know all of those thoughts in the comments down below here today after what was a good weekend for us. We can be happy. We are allowed to enjoy a victory here at Barca, and a convincing one at long last. And also today, as another thing to celebrate, maybe, I don't know, but I will be releasing my first ever tournament preview video. That's a big long video coming up there over on Talk Tennis. If you're interested, guys, thank you indeed for your great support there, and especially here, of course. I really do appreciate that. I know that I can count on you, and I will see you soon with lots more videos to come, and hopefully good wins, hopefully more nice Barca wins to come. I'll catch you then, but until next time, as always, Visca, El Barça.